All right, we are live. Let me just hit record here. Um, Zoom. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. My name's Felipe. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator here at San Diego Financial Literacy Center, Debt Wave Credit Counseling. First of all, Happy New Year to everyone. Hope you had a happy holiday season. But it's time to get on to 2023. Time to set some goals, time to get the ball rolling, and hopefully your New Year's resolutions are still a go. We're only 4 days in. So if they haven't for whatever reason, maybe we help you with some goals here to kind of get you to fulfill those New Year's resolutions, those goals, those dreams, those whatever you want to call them that you're trying to accomplish this year and beyond. So we've done goal setting a little bit before, but we wanted the difference between long-term and short-term goals. And it's important to have both. It's important to have something you're looking to accomplish soon, and then have something you're looking to accomplish way down the road, whatever that big goal happens to be, and they can be connected, but we'll go through all that here. So again, Happy New Year. Thanks for stopping by again in 2023. We look forward to a whole bunch of swim lives on a whole bunch of awesome topics. So let's get started. There we go. And so what is a goal? A goal is the end towards which effort is directed. In other words, more normal words, the end result for something a person intends to acquire, achieve, reach, or accomplish sometime in the near or distant future. That's it. What are you trying to accomplish? And some people might call them dreams, and that's cool. You can call them whatever you want. I like goals because you're putting effort into it. A dream might be winning that big lotto jackpot on Friday. Nothing I can do about it except for maybe buy a ticket. But a goal is something I have to, put an effort towards. But that's what it is. I found a cool quote here. What you get by achieving your goal is not as important as what you become by achieving your goals. So there is a benefit to the journey in the goal setting and then goal accomplishing. There's that sense of accomplishment. Obviously, with financial goals, achieving it is pretty important too. That's, whatever it is, pay down your debts, save up money, invest, retire early, or just buy yourself a new phone. Whatever it happens to be, you want to accomplish it. So some of the steps and some of the things to do. I also have an activity here. It's not homework because I'm not going to collect it, but I do think that you would benefit from doing the activity, especially if you've never done it. But here's your first activity. Find something to write with, whether it's a pen, pencil, or sometimes in my case, it's just a crayon. I happen to have a pen and a piece of paper or just a scrap paper, Post-it, whatever you got. And write down a goal that you most want to accomplish, financial or otherwise. Sometimes people think of goals and they don't think of it as financial goals along with, there's just goals. They have these things they want to accomplish. So many things that you want to accomplish have a financial component to it. So write down a goal, financial or otherwise, you want to accomplish. This is where I stop talking, take a sip of my coffee, and do my best to do maybe a Jeopardy or Jeopardy. Hopefully you've written them down. Then write down 2 more goals. At least one of those have them be a financial goal. And you'll see the QR code there. Once you have your goals, take a look at them, analyze them, and then possibly look into turning them into SMART goals. And this is what the previous goal presentation during Swim Live was. So I'm not going to go over SMART goals again, but there's the QR code for it. If you're watching this, you can scan it, switch on over. If you're watching this after the fact, either on YouTube or on one of the social media channels, scroll down to about a year ago, and you'll find the SMART goals video on there as well. It kind of goes hand in hand, but just a different component of it. So turn your goals into SMART goals. And remember the difference, short-term and long-term. the cutoff is 5 years when it comes to personal finances. A short-term goal is 5 years or less, and then the long-term goal is 5 years or more. And it's important to have multiple goals in each category. Sometimes you can even go ahead and add maybe an intermediate goal. Maybe you like to break it down. Maybe that 5-year mark is just a little bit too far out for some goals and not quite far enough for others. But you might want to add like a short-term goal, anything less than 2 years, like I got to get this done ASAP, or intermediate, I got a little time. For me, an intermediate goal, I want to go to the World Cup in somewhere, LA probably, when it comes to the US in 3.5 years now. That's an intermediate goal. I need to make sure people don't go scheduling something crazy in that time frame, and I need to just drive up there and go to the games. Long-term goals, anything more than 5 years, and these could be really long-term goals. It may be a 10-year goal, a 20-year goal, a 30-year goal, but you have those long-term goals that you can work towards. And the short-term goals can be very short-term. Like, I just want to do good on my budget this month. I want to be conscious of how much I spend eating out this month and track my expenses this month, or something like that. Something you can actionable, and you can do it now. Whether it's an app, a piece of paper, or whatever it is, you want to try and figure out how much you spend eating out in 2023, and then maybe put a cap on it, because 2022 might have been a bad one. Whatever the case might be, try and break those down. And it's important to kind of make the difference, because some long-term goals are going to be really, really long-term. So the importance of the short-term goals, though, it gives you something to work towards now, and it creates a sense of urgency. If you're saying, I want to save up money to buy, I want a new iPad, and your other iPad stopped working, or whatever the case may be, you can set up that short-term goal if you need one, sooner rather than later. And as much as anyone could need an iPad, I guess it may be a want. That's a whole different presentation, wants versus needs, that you can go back and watch. But that short-term goal gives you that sense of urgency. It gives you that, I need to start working towards this now because I want to accomplish XYZ. Whether it's this year, next year, or whatever the case may be. Maybe it's by the end of the year. We just started. This is the New Year resolutions. They would fall into the category of a short-term goal, because the goal is to accomplish them in this year. 365 days, but we're 4 days in, so you're down to 361. Don't waste too many of them. I saw some funny tweets as we were coming close to the end of the year, like 4 days left for the New Year's resolution, you better get started. No, it's 4 days in, you better get started, and you're more likely to accomplish it than waiting till 4 days till the deadline. So set those short-term financial goals. And why long-term? Well, some goals take a long time. I like to remind people that most personal financial goals are achievable. You want to save them, you want to get your net worth to $1 million. You want to buy a house. You want to buy a second house. You want to pay off your house. You want to, whatever it is you want to do. Those financial goals are achievable. You just have to give yourself enough time, and then put in the steps that it required to accomplish it. With all the goals, you set the goal, you have to put in the work afterwards. Come up with the action plans. What are you going to do to accomplish that next year, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, or whatever the case may be? So almost all financial goals are achievable if you give yourself enough time and you're willing to put in the effort. And some of them may require a little luck along the way as well, to if they're really, really large financial goals. But most are achievable if you just put in the effort, and you put in a solid plan, and you're willing to follow it, and you're willing to put in the work. And that's where long-term goals are big. Maybe you have a long-term goal, you want to save $20,000 in 10 years, whatever it's for. Kids' college, to start maybe a down payment on something. Maybe you just want to have That's the magic number you want to have in your emergency savings account, whatever it is. You want to save 10,000, what did I say, $20,000 in 10 years, right? That's a lot of money, but 10 years is a long time as well. You think back 10 years, where were you? And, depending on your age, like, man, that was a long time ago. You give yourself that time, you break that down a little bit, and that's $2,000 a year, right? If you just simple math here, no interest and inflation and all that, otherwise it gets way too confusing. That's $2,000 a year. So sometimes maybe those long-term goals have some kind of relation with your short-term goals. To accomplish that $20,000 in 10 years, maybe you got to stop eating out so much. To accomplish that $20,000 in 10 years, maybe you just got to do better about, have to do better about grocery shopping. And maybe you just have to cancel unused subscriptions or stop going to pick up coffee at the coffee shop every day. You have to control your spending and not go buy a new iPhone or iPad or Galaxy phone or whatever technology thing every time there's a new version of it, new television, new whatever. So those short-term goals can eventually lead up and build, long-term habits that can help you accomplish those big long-term goals that you have. And they can go hand in hand. In fact, you probably should set some short-term goals as stepping stones to get to those big financial goals. So once you got these 10, 20, 30-year goal in front of you, it's kind of hard to keep track of it. 1 year into your 20-year goal, you might have made some progress, but did you make enough progress? Did you fail because you haven't accomplished it? No, it's a 20-year goal. You can't fail the 20-year goal in year one, but you can do the steps that you need to get closer, or fail to have done the steps, and now you have less time to accomplish that big goal. So set short-term goals as stepping stones. You want to save $20,000 in 10 years. It means you should put away $2,000 every year. We're in the new year. Some of you might be sitting there thinking, well, the year just started. I didn't have $2,000 left over last year just to kind of throw at the end of the year. All right, break it down one step further. That's $166 a month. Now you're thinking, okay, all right, well, that's how much people pay for their 15 streaming services. Maybe you cut them back, or the cable, if you still have cable, or whatever other, eating out. Did you like to eat out? That's $42 a week. Now you're thinking, okay, $42 a week. That's a trip for the family to Jack in the Box these days. That it doesn't take much, even at like a drive-through fast food place, to get to $42. If you got a family of 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, or just a family of 2 happens to order in some, Uber Eats or some DoorDash or whatever. So maybe you cut back on those on a weekly basis, and then that gives you about $166 a month, and that gives you $2,000 a year, and that gives you $20,000 in 10 years. So you can go do whatever it is you want to do with that money, whatever your goal is for that money. And then set those little stepping stones, and then write them down. Big fan of sticky notes, but it doesn't have to be, sticky notes. Just write them down, which is activity number 1. That's why I said grab a pen, paper, and a scratch, a piece of scratch paper, and you wrote them down. Hopefully, if you haven't, go back, write them down. Pause it now. Pause me. Okay, you won't hurt my feelings. And then write your goals down, and then hit play again. Just don't forget to hit play again. So write them down, and if you have to, because you like technology so much and you don't have anything to write with or on, type them down. I'll take that. Write them on your phone with your finger, iPad with one of the drawing things. I don't care, but just write them down. It makes it more of a commitment to yourself. And then if you can, display them. This is where sticky notes come into play real nice. You can put them everywhere. If I thought my wife would allow it, I would set something up like this, because it just kind of looks awesome. And you can put notes everywhere. I think this almost looks like some of the parts like a little bit of a globe, with the different colors. You can get creative, whatever, but it doesn't have to be this extreme. You want to buy a new car, put the paper, put your goal down on a sticky note, and then take your sticky note and stick it somewhere where you're going to see it all the time. Maybe where you put your keys. If your goal is to, you know, be better about not eating out so much, not stopping for coffee every day. Take your sticky note, put it by the door, and then on the way out, you look at it and you're like, oh man, I really shouldn't be going out. Let me run back real quick, grab an apple and a banana, and then run out the door so I could skip out on that snack. I could skip out on that extra stop at the 7-Eleven or the liquor store or whatever, so I can get a snack and I've got something. Or let me go back real quick and grab my coffee. Whatever it is. You put them there, you'll see them. There's a constant reminder of, let me go accomplish this. Oh yes, that's right. I should make a grocery list before I go to the grocery store. I should go to the grocery store instead of ordering food in. Whatever the case may be, put them on display. If you're feeling extra sharing, sharing is caring sometimes. Sometimes oversharing is too much, but put them on social media. Take a picture of your Post-it note, and put it on. If you feel like that's going to help you, make an even bigger commitment. Boom, there you go. I tweeted it, or whatever you guys do on TikTok. Make a dance video to it, doesn't matter. But now you've put it out there to your, in my case, 20 friends that follow you, and then now it's a bigger commitment. Some of you might have thousands of followers. I like to tell my 9-year-old, like, yeah, I'm famous. I got 20 followers, 2 subscriptions. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going viral here. So put them on display if you feel comfortable. If not, just put them somewhere in private where you will see them. And that can go a long way. On your dresser, on your mirror, on your, there's a board that people like. I don't have one, but I think it's a cool idea. Something board, vision board, I think, which is actually a cool idea, if whatever works for you. And then here's another fun little activity for you. So you got activity 1. Here's activity number 2. And I think this one's just as important. You do step 1, it's worthless if you don't do step 2. And activity 2 here is select the goal that you most want to accomplish. Prioritize your list. What's the most important thing? People always ask me, how do I get good at my personal finances? How do I stay motivated? How do I keep my significant other motivated, my kids, my parents, myself, whoever they're trying to motivate? What's your goal? What's the most important thing you want to accomplish with your money today, tomorrow, next year, or 10 years down the road? Write your goal that you most want to accomplish, put them in order, what's most important. Rewrite your goals, turn them into SMART goals, put them on the sticky notes, put them on your vision board, put them wherever you need to put them, right? And then what do you need to accomplish this goal? What is it going to take? What steps should you take? What actions should you take? Sometimes it's something as small as just paying attention to my money, paying attention to my grocery shopping, paying attention to how much I eat out, how much I eat or drink out, how much I buy without thinking twice, whatever it is. And this could be lots of little goals. Those little goals, remember, go back a couple videos, those little goals really add up over time. So what do you need to do to accomplish it? And then go out and do it. Go out and accomplish your goal. Go out and, start putting in the effort. And does that mean that sometimes you may not buy something you shouldn't have bought? Run into a Starbucks with the excuse of, I'm gonna just run in there real quick and get a cake pop for my kids, and now I got 3 cups of coffee to go along with it, and a gift card, so I have to come back next time to spend the gift card. What is it that you need to do, and then go do those steps. And if you mess up a little, it's all right. Just kind of take a step back and say, shouldn't have bought that. That's not going to help me get to my goals, but it's all right. I can work through this. Let's move forward and let's accomplish whatever goals you want to accomplish. And then, just as important as, you got to do a little dance when you succeed too, like this baby. I don't think you succeed a goal. If it's a big enough goal, you got to do a little dance. No one has to see it, but I think it should be a reward to yourself. Don't forget to do a little dance. Put on your favorite jams and do a little dance, but don't give up. You're going to hit speed bumps, roadblocks, whatever you want to call them. You're going to hit obstacles. Life happens. And it's no different when it comes to finances, to accomplishing your goals, especially long-term goals. You don't think there's going to be an unexpected expense in the next 10 years? Of course there is. Your water heater might stop working. You might back out and take the garage door off the hinges. You might, find a dog. I don't know. There's going to be some expenses. Hopefully you plan adopting your pet. Maybe they just show up at the doorstep. I don't know. But, there's going to be changes to your finances. There's going to be, obstacles, and you just overcome, figure out the best way around them, over them, under them, and then continue forward. Just don't let them derail you, and don't let them derail whatever successes you have accomplished. Even if you're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back, eventually you end up down the street. So I don't remember who said that, but I heard it and it's kind of cool. So I didn't come up with that, so I'm not gonna take credit for that quote, but I really do like it. I think it was a former president, but I don't remember which one. So, remember to celebrate your successes and continue forward even when you have those setbacks. Any questions? Anything else? Goal questions? So get on those New Year's resolutions, turn them into goals. Even if you think they weren't financial goals, chances are there's a money component to it. Anything you want to buy. Is paying off debt a long-term goal? It can be. It most definitely can be. I think, depending on the debt amount and your financial situation, it's not just the debt amount. You can't just throw out a debt amount and say, yeah, that should take you X amount of years to pay off, or that's not a lot of debt, or that's a ton of debt, because everyone's in a different financial situation. That's the cool thing about personal finances. They're personal. So depending on your debt load and your financial situation, it can be a long-term goal. You start throwing in some student loan debt, and you start throwing in, counting that as debt and personal loans and car payments, and that could be a long-term goal. If you're paying down, some credit card debt, that could be a long-term goal. It could be a short-term goal, because you might be getting your debt-free journey with credit cards. Could be a year, could be 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Get those interest rates down and start really attacking them. Get your snowball rolling down the hill, or avalanche, whatever snow analogy you want to take, to paying down the debt. But you definitely, depending on the debt amount and your financial situation, it could be a long-term goal, could be a short-term goal. Someone asked, how many long-term goals and short-term goals should I have? I would say 3 of each, but if you have a 4th one or a 5th one, especially with those long-term goals, you might be working towards a lot of long-term goals. You might be, you have a whole board of them, with a whole bunch of sticky notes all over the place. So you could be working on multiple goals. Here's an idea that I just came up with in my head. I don't know if it's any good, but I'm just kind of roll with it. Maybe you color code your goals. So I got the pink Post-its, I got the green Post-its, I got the yellow Post-its, and I have long-term goal. This example that I gave, save $20,000 in 10 years. I put that on the pink Post-it, and then I put it on there. And then every short-term goal related to that one, I put on a pink Post-it. If you're a visual learner, that seems like it would work. If you're colorblind, maybe you just put like a little A or a little B, and you set up like tiers. All the pink goals are related to each other. I want to save $20,000 in 10 years. To do that, I need $2,000 a year. There's another pink Post-it. I need $166 a month on the pink Post-it, $42 a week on the pink Post-it. To do that, I'm gonna stop driving through my favorite coffee shop every single day. Pink Post-its. Now you have a whole bunch of different goals, all relating and all leading to that final big goal. So, go crazy, set up a bunch of goals if you need to. But you really want to try and focus in on maybe 3 short-term, 3 long-term. So it just doesn't get like too many places. I don't know about you guys, but I don't need my mind wandering 100 different directions. I need to focus on whatever it is that you're doing. I think, like a lot of things, personal finances, some people might say, I need one goal. And one goal is a little too small, because that goal should have other goals within it. So I like my post-it idea I just came up with. I don't know, someone might have already came up with it, but that's a great question. How do you know? Okay, good question. How do you know if your financial goal is realistic, especially if it's a long-term financial goal? You always have the option to go talk to a certified financial planner. I think you could definitely benefit from that. And there are pro bono options. I know we have our financial opportunity clinic. It's free, open to anyone. They could register and virtually or over the phone, talk to a financial planner pro bono for 45 minutes for free. Super cool program that's coming back in 2023, thanks to the Foundation for Financial Planning. But I think math. I know we don't do math on this show and on our podcast, but you could break it down and see mathematically if that makes sense. And it is important that your goals are realistic, because let's say I make it a goal that I want to save enough money to buy a private jet to fly me around the world. And I want to do that by 2024. Okay. I got a car payment. I have a mortgage. There's no way that I'm going to put away enough money to buy a private jet in the next year, aside from hitting the big jackpot. It's just not going to happen. That's not realistic. I'm trying to pay off my Honda Civic. I'm not buying a Cessna or whatever the private jets happen to be, G4, whatever. That's not realistic. So if my friends call me up and say, hey man, do you want to go get sushi today? I'm not going to say, you know what, guys, I'd really like to go, but I can't because I'm saving up money to buy a plane. It's not realistic. The answer is going to be yes, because regardless of whether or not I go get sushi today, I'm not buying a plane next year. So your goal has to be realistic for it to be something that you put in the effort to. What's the point of putting in effort if you're not going to accomplish it anyways? So maybe talk to a financial planner or get your the fanciest calculator you got sitting around and start doing some math, start crunching some numbers and seeing if it makes sense. It doesn't have to be a graphing calculator. It could be the one on your phone that your teachers told you would never carry around a calculator all the time. It could be the one on your computer, but do a little bit of math. And if it seems a little too snug of a time frame, maybe you give yourself a little bit more time to make those goals realistic. Bonus here, if you share your personal finances with a significant other, you need to talk to them about your goals, and you need to set up a time. Don't ambush them when you're stuck in traffic driving up to LA or something like that and say, hey, well, we have a couple hours, let's talk goals. They're not ready for it. Give them a heads up. What day next week do you want to sit and talk about our goals? And make sure they're moving in the same direction as you. If my wife's goal is to save up money to travel, and my goal becomes I want to collect every different color sweater they have at Target, those goals don't match up. You notice I switched those. She's more likely to want the sweaters, but they have to line up and they have to be moving in the same direction. If someone's goal is to buy a house and the other person's goal is, to always have the freedom to move to the next city, at the just click of a mouse, those goals may not line up. So you want to make sure that you're both moving towards the same goals, dreams, whatever it is, and set up a goal date and work on coming up with joint financial goals so that everyone's putting in the effort and directing the effort in the same direction. So you're not spinning your wheels, playing tug of war on which way are we moving with our financial goals. And you can always continue learning, or any other questions. Awesome questions today. You can always continue learning by listening to our podcast. It is called Talk Wealth to Me for now. Name change coming this month. But you can still find it on our website, and you'll always be able to find it on our website, regardless of the name change. We talk everything personal finances, babies, puppies, TV shows, tweets, everything in between. I might be sharing that lottery one again because the jackpot's going crazy again. So, always continue learning, and let us know if you have any questions, if you know anything we should cover that we haven't already covered. And then join us again in 2 weeks, the Federal Reserve and interest rates. And I promise I'll do my best not to make it a econ class type of seminar. It hopefully will be fun but informative. What does the Federal Reserve and this interest rates that we hear about the news have to do with me? How does it affect my debt payoff journey? How does it affect my savings? All kinds of different things. There's a lot that has to do with the Federal Reserve, and really want to be cheering on the Federal Reserve to get it right, because it can benefit all of us if they get everything right and don't overcorrect or undercorrect. And we'll talk all that in 2 weeks. That's on the 18th. Register on Eventbrite, and you can register for all our future presentations on Eventbrite as well. That's it for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope you learned a little. I hope you wrote some goals down, and that you accomplish them in this year and beyond. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.